So welcome back to Imperium Gaming, and I'm just going to talk you through the army that I am taking to the No Retreat 6 event in Gibraltar on the 10th and 11th of March. So I'm running with a Battalion Detachment, which is this pile of models here, and a Vanguard Detachment. So I'll start with the Vanguard Detachment. We have a Warpsmith. He's got a Flamer Melter Power Axe, and he's got a Contemptor, Hellforged Contemptor Dreadnought, along with 2 Keres Assault Cannons and a Havoc Launcher. Then cut and paste for a second one, and then a Hellforged Predator with Plasma Destroyer and 2 Las Cannons. So they form a Vanguard Detachment, giving me 1 command point. And as these are Hellforged, although this guy can normally heal vehicles, unfortunately he can't heal Hellforged vehicles. But if they kill models in combat, every model that they kill on a 5+, it heals a wound. So that's the only way that they can heal back. One of the bonuses of being Hellforged, particularly for the Predator, is the fact that it's much better in close combat. It's not amazing, but it is much better than a tank normally would be. So here's just some close-ups on the vehicles themselves. So this is the Predator. I think it's a great looking model. A lot of shooty there. A couple of las cannons for anti-tank, Plasma Destroyer so that I can try and get the hurt on any elite troops if I need to. The 2 Hellforged Contemptors look really nice. These are the Forge World versions with the Night Lord's upgrades. And then the Warpsmith himself here. Then moving across to the battalion, we have 2 HQs. We have a Chaos Lord with a jump pack, using the Conrad Kurz model for that, because it's just absolutely epic. So he's not the Warlord, but he is carrying the Claws of the Black Hunt, which make his close combat much stronger and more powerful. They're AP -3. They do D3 damage, and they give him +1 strength, and he gets +1 attack. So he's a 5 attack Chaos Lord at strength 5, AP -3, D3 damage per wound. And if he does get into combat without being killed, I'm going to try and remember Death to the False Emperor, because I'm really good at forgetting that, and I lose my extra attacks. Then the Warlord, using the Sevatar model, is a Chaos Lord with a Power Sword, and that is the only upgrades that he's having. His Warlord trait is the one that allows him to ignore wounds on a 6+. So that Warlord trait is called Unholy Fortitude, and it also gives him +1 wound. So a little bit more survivable. Then, because this is a battalion, you need to have 3 troop squads. So I've got 3 squads of 5 Chaos Space Marines. They are bare bones with the exception of the champions, and they are each wielding chainswords. So that's the only upgrades on those. Then in a fast attack slot, I've added 5 Raptors with chainswords and bolt pistols. Again, bare bones, but I could use them to drop in and perhaps steal the odd objective if I need to. Then in an elite choice, I've added some Noise Marines, so 4 squad members with Sonic Blasters and then a Blast Master. They're pretty useful. Lots of shots, strength 4, ignoring cover, and if they get killed, each model automatically gets to shoot before they die, so that's quite useful. And the Blast Master, if I can roll the right sort of numbers, can do D3 strength 8 shots at quite a long range, so a bit more shooting. So also in elite choice, I have the Hellforged Sicaran with 2 las cannons, the Accelerator Twin Autocannon and Heavy Bolter. So again, Hellforged, which means that it can heal wounds in close combat if it needs to, and it's a little bit better in close combat. Insanely fast, this vehicle, and of course with the twin auto accelerators, it's really good against flyers. Then in the heavy support choices, I've added in the Deredeo Dreadnought and Leviathan Dreadnought. Both of these also are Hellforged, so they can heal wounds in close combat. So the Leviathan's got a Butcher Cannon array, which is 8 shots at strength 8, 2 wounds per shot, which is really good. It's also got a Grav Flux Bombard, which has only got an 18-inch range, but again, this can do some insane output of damage at AP -5. It's also got twin Hellflamers on its chest, as you can just see there, to give a little bit of defense if charged. So that would be 2d6 strength 5 shots, AP -1, and doing 2 damage per shot as well. So really useful. And then just going back to the Deredeo, this thing as a Hellforged Deredeo is really cool. So it's got the Butcher Cannon array as well, so it can shoot an awful lot of shots. It's got a Greater Havoc launcher, which can shoot and doesn't need line of sight, and it's got 2 heavy bolters as well. Now I've also paid for Hellfire Veil, which means that any units fully within 6 inches of it gain a 5-up invulnerable save, and that includes itself. So I'm planning on parking this vehicle and also the Predator together within 6 inches of this guy. I'll stick the Warlord here in with them as well, so I've got reroll to hits of 1 for all of those, so that should be quite a nice little castle for me. And then finally, my intention is to run the Leviathan along with both of the Contempt Dreadnoughts forward. You know, they carry their invulnerable saves with them, and they're really good. They've got a 5-up invul, but if they get into close combat, that drops to a 4-up invul, and that's the same for the Leviathan over here. And then keeping pace with them, because they're quite fast, will be the other Chaos Lord, so that he can give them their reroll to hits of a 1. So that's my plans, that's my intention of how I intend to deploy. And then with my 3 troop squads, together with the Noise Marines, will depend again on what my opponent's got. If they've got deep strikers, I'll use them to create a defensive veil around my castle at the back. And if they haven't, I'll push them forward to try and take objectives. The one thing that this army hasn't got is enough mobility. And I could have sacrificed, say, the Raptors and put a Rhino in, perhaps. But I decided in the end, this is quite fluffy. You know, I'm Night Lords, so I've got Terror Tactics, which mean I can adversely affect my opponent's leadership scores by -1 per unit, depending on how close I get. So each one of these troops, you know, if I get 3 of them within 6 inches of a unit, they've got -3 on their leadership. And the same goes with anything with the Hellbrute keyword, which, newsflash, these 2 have got, and so have the Contemptors. So this means that 12 out of my 14 units are delivering that leadership modifier, which is potential that it could be handy. You know, a few extra mortal wounds on some units if I do end up in close combat. So before I finish this, I'll just put in a few close-ups of the models. Really nicely painted. I didn't do these myself. These were done by Ironkeep Studios. So that's the Sicaran, the Deredeo, which I've always thought looks a bit awkward, but I actually really like it in these colours and with these effects on them. You know, the lightning effects I think are really good. I'll go in close on the Leviathan there. You know, they almost jump out at you. So even the basic troops have been painted really nicely, and they've got the lightning flashes across the armour. So yeah, so that's it. That's my army for No Retreat. The lists have been submitted. There's no changing it now. I don't think it's going to be the most competitive list, but I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. So we'll give you some feedback after the event and let you know how we're going on. Thanks for watching.